onus is on them to be proactive and take J-Team by surprise here.
All right, into the draft we go. Nova going to be on your blue side, J-Team on the red. Starting things off, of course, Trundle being banned out from Hana. Hana had himself a rather clean performance on the 2 games we did see from J-Team with the pickup. And of course, just trying to ban out a little bit toward G4's pool as the Zoe's taken away.
Yeah, banning out the Trundle did force Hana onto the Kindred in the previous game. Probably not going to see that again, unless you maybe see the Blind Graves come through from Ryan. He has added that to his pool, as we mentioned. And okay, this is not a ban I've seen too much of, but it does make sense, because this is a top lane champ that just instantly wins lane, and maybe it's not something Rocky wants to opt into for himself.
Maybe. Maybe they're just saying, hey, you know what, maybe he just hasn't had enough practice up against the matchup in particular, because they do have blue side, though I don't know if it's necessarily something you want to first pick, especially when we did see such a heavy counter come out of it during the HKA game at the start of the day, where it just got shut down immediately when Shensekai was playing.
So the ban on the Wukong is interesting to me for Rocky here, because it means that carry top laners available to you right now. You have what? You have Jace, you have
Aatrox.
Aatrox, you have GP. Mord to a lesser extent, but that's a weak side top laner, and that's not something Rocky plays. So I'm thinking, alright, Nova, you leave your top lane till maybe 3rd rotation or 2nd rotation, and you take a good jungler here. Graves? Ooh,
or you just go ahead and just get yourself the Varus getting locked in here for Colton Feed as it made its way through the ban phase once again.
Varus, of course, we've seen lethality, we've seen on hit, wins lane into pretty much anyone with anything paired with it, but Ezreal Yuumi are still available, and they are still a very, very good duo, at least for this patch.
Alright, now though, it seems like Lil V is just trying to pioneer the Sivir play, it seems, here in the PCS. Again, getting it locked in for their bot lane, as he was one of the first players to actually show it off here so far in summer.
Yeah, the Sivir, of course, just gives you a lot of hard engage to really get on top of the Varus, make it so he can't play the game, dive onto this comp that would like to siege or harass you, and, well, there's the takeaway of Ryan's Graves, and it does mean that Hana are now going to be making an appearance on a champion that we haven't come to associate with him.
Yeah, it's not a Trundle, nor is it a Kindred that we have seen. And we didn't see any of it back in spring because it wasn't really in the meta. Now here for Nova, are they looking for a flex pickup here, as the set is going to get locked in, so have some options where they want to put this.
Definitely could put it top, could put it jungle, could put it support. You have 3 roles that this champion can be viably flexed to, and honestly I'd say with the current top lane bans that you've seen of the Wukong plus the Volibear, it's actually not got that many losing matchups up top.
Here we go though, Pop gonna opt in for the Bard down the ball lane, so a lot of poke actually gonna be coming out during the lane phase there, and we'll see whether or not they're able to contend with Woody, who's gonna be locking in the Nautilus.
I again like the Nautilus because that is some hard engage to really, get the Varus into a really sticky situation. I like that they didn't just opt into the Yuumi, because Bard does let you set up for tower dives and map movements really, really easily to try and take the Yuumi lane by surprise. And yeah, I think this is a good adaptation from the side of J-Team. They have a lot of hard engage, they have a lot that they can do with it, and Nova really need to get a little bit more disengage going for themselves. They don't have the Orianna for G4, no reliable wombo combo there, and J-Team banning out some weak side top laners now. I don't expect the Ornn ban unless it's from Nova, and I do want to see Rest and Rocky really take it to each other.
Interesting here though, we do see the Kassadin ban being taken on the side of Nova. Just don't want to contest with Nestea. Seems like Nova maybe afraid of going into the later part of the game, maybe realizing, hey, we have had some issues when it comes to closing out games in series. Final ban though for J-Team, it is going to be the LeBlanc being taken away from G4.
Makes a lot of sense here. That could have been a LeBlanc Lee Sin lock-in for Nova and G4. Sorry, for Ryan and G4 on the side of Nova on that last rotation. I expect Syndra to be taken out of the picture here. If it does go through, I will be a little bit surprised. But either Nestea or G4 can pick that up for themselves.
All right, so looking at your final ban, Nova. Going to be that Ornn, like you mentioned, being banned out. So not looking to have that super tank in the top lane. Now for J team, question becomes, what do you want to keep your counter pick for? Do you want to keep it for the top lane matchup, or do you want to keep it for the mid lane up against G4? You could always opt into something like the Galio we have seen time and time again come out in ST, and then allow for that straight up counter pick for rest.
Yeah, and the Galio does mean that the Syndra pick that I mentioned becoming a lot less appealing as an option. Could go for Lissandra, who we've seen is making a triumphant return to this stage to really, facilitate the lockdown, facilitate the picks, the big rotations as well. But also just look at the fact this hypothetical mid-jungle 2v2, well, it's really hard to judge a hypothetical 2v2 when you don't know where set is going, but
exactly.
yeah.
That's also going to be a Corki now, getting locked in for G4. I thought we were, past the days of Corki, as that was the spring go-to between him, Azir, and the Syndra, making its first appearance back here in summer, likely being in the hands of G4. And for Rocky, well, going to go opting into possibly the best, blind pick you can. It's going to be the Renekton.
Right, this does leave options like Jace for Rest, or Quinn even, but this is not a huge carry player. Rest is certainly no Rocky. For better or for worse, Rest does have more of a controlled playstyle. Rest can play weak side, and well, this is a good weak side top laner. It's not Mordekaiser, but it's certainly it's the AD Mordekaiser, basically.
Yeah, bunch of damage that can come out, and is going to get locked in here for Rest. It's the Gangplank up in top lane in response to the Renekton lock-in we see out of Rocky. So we'll see, like you mentioned, if Rocky's going to be able to punish this. But this does also mean that we're going to have a set now going up into the jungle. Something that we saw, I think it was once or twice back in spring out of Nova. Was one of the few teams to actually pick it up.
Yeah, I do like the set. You can just suplex, I guess not Gangplank, but Nautilus or Galio away from your carries. You can also fish for some creative engages, but also speaking of engages, by the way, and carries in particular, look at J-Team's solo lanes and then look at the bot lane. As soon as any sort of Drake-centric skirmish comes through, there's going to be a cannon barrage, going to be a heroic entrance, and going to be one hell of a party around that bottom of the map.
And that's kind of what we said before. For J-Team, instead of, relying on a mid lane to be your sole focus carry, they have just opted to be like, all right, let it be the Lil V show with Woody down in that bot lane. We'll just apply resources when we can, and if the game goes super late too, you always have that Gangplank scaling that can come online later with a good barrel combo from Rest.
TP for Golden Feet does suggest to me that it's lethality Varus, but only time will tell once we get into this game. Bard has a good pick potential. You have the Corki just ready and willing to, get in there with the package, for better or for worse, when the Galio Gangplank combo's on the enemy team. And honestly, really, really hard to judge how these skirmishes will pan out, because Nova's comp, it thrives in chaos.
We'll see here. Final game of the night. J-Team looking to go 4-0. Nova looking to start off their week with a victory. You'll see how it pans out as we load on to the Rift.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
We set ourselves up for some late night Rift action. Our final game so far. I think the big, we keep saying this, big surprise so far has been J-Team when it comes to summer. Looking at possibly going 4-0 to start off their split. Whereas Nova here, 1-1. I think this is actually pretty similar to how their spring started off, but they kind of weren't able to ever kind of swing above them when it comes to the rankings and the standings until the second round robin, where we actually kind of saw them accelerate. This time, hoping to see them be able to at least try and contest here against J-Team for a close match.
And you mentioned that top 8 teams earlier would make a convincing case for playoffs. Nova have to be really careful that they don't just fall into that 9th place position that everyone else, bar Liab, seems to just be avoiding right now.
Well, they would hope to also avoid it. We don't want all our former LST teams coming down into the bottom of the standings. I know that would be a bit of a disappointment for some of these rosters. And considering the fact, like, I've talked to G4, and he's rather confident in this roster. He thinks, hey, we could probably make it into top 4 if we were playing our A game. That, a quick hook coming out from Woody into the boomerang, not the start Pop was looking for.
Yeah, actually really, really big credit to J-Team there for saying, look, Graves doesn't need a leash, we can cheese some prio, get a good shove going for ourselves bot lane, and then it's really hard for Varus to wrangle back in terms of harass and in terms of counter push. Both bot lanes going to just kind of hold each other in the middle of that lane, and then you'll start to see them give a little bit more respect once the enemy mid laners have started to become unlocked.
I'm also seeing here for Ryan, he's gone for the phase rush approach rather than the Predator that we saw more or less during spring. Teams opting for that. Have seen, though, it can be a little bit rough to try and jump in onto some of these, you know, more mobile laners. Now, to be fair, he is going up against a Gangplank and a Galio. Not really too mobile as far as things go. It can be a little annoying, but we'll see how he's going to be able to enter onto some of these ganks a little bit later on once he's hit level 6.
Bit of an invade coming through from Hana here, but he is of course spotted out. Not too much pressure that you can really apply into the Renekton when your top laner is a GP. That being said though, 2 waves up for Rest right now. Rocky, he got the 1v1 he was hoping for, but it is not going the way he'd planned.
Yeah, he's already had to walk back into lane, opted to not use the teleport. That's that early poke that comes out, just having that parlay available all the damn time.
And the grass.
And
you
the
just parlay grass.
Yeah.
And it's so disgusting. It's why I run Conqueror into GP as Rumble, just because Comet E from Rumble is like a less good version of Gangplank's Q Grasp. So you're like, nah, why am I playing his game? Let's not play his game.
Let's just get some kind of sustain for the longer trades at least. Oh yeah. Boy. Well, looks like Resto has already decided to go back to lane himself. Probably, you know, used up all his corrupting pot to just keep up the pressure. Probably ran out of mana, so he'll come back in the lane and likely continue to do the same until I think Ryan hits level 6. Then he'll have to pay a little bit more respect over to Rocky.
This wave is actually going to start shoving into Rest, and he can freeze it up if he so wishes. Rocky's still a little bit behind on the play. Not in an awful position, has closed the gap a little bit, and of course, it's GP. His like component spikes aren't actually that huge till he manages to swing a Sheen for himself. So Rocky still definitely does have the potential to go for a big fight if he wants to.
Well, don't leave it out of the question. Rocky is always willing to jump into the fray, especially against his lane opponents. Even not afraid to walk up, as you saw earlier. Bot lane here, though. For RC Lil V, they decide to go on back and immediately rush a call off the first back here before Golden Feet and them did the same. So just looking for that extra little bit of deposit gold. Look at this. 5 minutes on the clock coming out from Hana, immediately jumping in and trying to secure the first drake.
Yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed to see that Hana's fallen behind as Graves versus a set jungle, because that is not something you'd expect. But he rewards that with a good invade topside that kind of forced Rocky back without being able to TP in, and a good secure on this Drake with his mid and bot side pressure.
Alrighty, looking to stack the Drakes early on, as the next one will be Infernal after they have secured the Cloud. So not a bad start here, getting the first neutral objective in our final game of the night. We'll see here though, Pop may be trying to bring Ryan in for a party with this Bard pickup.
Tier and Cull for the Corki, by the way, so this is about scaling as you can get.
Oh, here we go.
But now we have the flank.
Pop coming around the corner, wants to go ahead, wants to find that stun immediately. Lil V holding on to the spell shield as long as possible. Level 6 though has hit for both solo lanes of J-Team, and in comes the Galio. It's first blood, it's a double kill for Nesty.
Exactly what we said would happen when we saw GP Galio locked in for the solo laners. As soon as level 6 is crested, drop the Cannon Barrage, drop the heroic entrance, didn't even need to do that by the way, just TP'd straight in there. And suddenly this 3v2 tower dive becomes a 3.5v3. And yeah, it just really, really well executed by the side of J-Team to turn that around.
Yeah, and unfortunately there, like, if you're not able to get the lockdown on Lil V, he held on to his spell shield for quite a long time, even post-flashed, and was able to soak up a decent amount of the CC damage. And there you go. J-Team now find themselves ahead by 1,300 gold, and it's also in a matchup where, you know, G4 this time around, he isn't necessarily, we might see him roam a little, but he's not providing a bunch of CC, and he can't really teleport in onto a fight and expect to be able to turn things around until he has a couple items in his belt.
I mean, this is basically just defaulting the Corki back to the Orianna playstyle that he'd become so familiar with. You're farming up for the Mana Moon, or Mana rather, Triforce or Infedge, depending on how he wants to build this one out. And honestly, I don't expect G4 to make a splash on the map for at least another... I don't know, he could use the package to make a play, but besides the package play, I just expect him to farm it out.
Yeah, the typical Corki things until he hits 3 items, and then all of a sudden he's going to burst down one of the members of J-Team. That's the hope, I guess. Nonetheless, bot lane here, we also wanted to see, you know, Golden Feet, how he was going to fare this time around. It also looks like it's going to be a lethality Varus, opting for that over the on-hit that we saw earlier in the day, the last time the Varus was picked up.
Of course, again, just dealing with the fact that Nova's damage dealers are 2 backline carries with very limited peel options, and that means that J-Team, if they can fish for the hard engage with the Sivir R, with the GP R, with the Galio R, Nautilus doing Nautilus things, becomes a really, really difficult scenario for the Nova carries to really flourish in, especially if Rocky continues to be held down in lane.
Look at this. They have been able to spot out, actually, Nesty coming on over. Looking to maybe jump in onto Woody, but let's see now. Level 6 has been hit for Ryan, has the Haymaker available, ends up going in for the shield, but it's not enough as he gets taken down mid-showstopper. And there you go, another kill in favor of J-Team.
Good attempt at the play from Ryan, but he bites off a little bit more than he can chew there. Gets punished accordingly. They set up a good trap push, but what are you going to do against Nautilus? What are you going to do against the Galio? All in them and not get much for it. Get chain CC'd, get knocked down by the Graves damage. G4's just, you know, Tear of the Goddess plus Cull Corki. I really don't think Nova should have tried to contest that. And if they were going to fish for a pick, make sure it's on Hana or Lil V.
Yeah, at least if you get Hana there, you kind of prevent the Rift Herald from likely going over. You could maybe turn it into yourself. Instead, had I set for Woody, and it didn't pan out, so that's first Rift Herald of the game going in favor of J-Team, and still now extending to a 1,500 gold advantage.
Yep, we do have a bit of a lead coming back for J-Team here on the red side. Drake under their belt, going to be another one spawning pretty sharpish too. And suddenly this late game win condition of the Sivir, of the Gangplank, I guess of the Galio to a certain extent too, just becomes even more augmented with the real legitimate threat of a Dragon Soul.
And that's 35 seconds now on Infernal. So now see whether or not Hana wants to try and secure it. He's already on the bot side of the map, so they can already look to try and establish a vision down. And if all goes well too, you might find a good fight in your favor, and then you can transform that into a Rift Herald push. And it's just J-Team kind of slowly building up this lead. It kind of really feels like we're not seeing anything from Nova. They did 2 proactive plays, and usually that is their limit, considering what we saw back in spring, where if it doesn't go well, they just kind of go, okay, we're going to farm, and Rocky, you split push and see what happens.
I mean, even in last week's games, you saw G4 just default split pushing on the Orianna at very inopportune moments because he was tired of forcing and really couldn't influence the map in the way he'd perhaps hoped to. I'm looking at Rocky, and I do feel quite bad because I'm like, this team lives and dies by him, but there's not much the Renekton could have done here. And it feels like the rest of the team is just waiting for him to pull the trigger on maybe an opportunity that isn't going to materialize for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, because the J-Team, they keep getting themselves prio on these objectives and making themselves feel confident. Top, yeah, be a little bit careful there, trying to clear out the control ward. On top of that, it's going to be a Mountain Soul, which, you know, J-Team, if they continue stacking, that's always great to have. Some extra shielding as well as some extra resistances, and it just seems like game plan's going in favor of J-Team, considering this Sivir has gone untouched for the first 10 minutes of the game.
So Corki actually finished his cull now, but at the same time you do have to consider the fact that still not a champion till he gets his Triforce. So yeah, you have J-Team with a lot of freedom for the next couple of minutes. And as we said, it's not like their scaling is bad either. GP, insane. Sivir, insane. Galio, not too bad. Graves, not too bad. Nautilus. It's really a scary position for Nova to be in, and they can't let the fact that their plays have blown up in their face time and time again really put them off from making them consistently now.
And there we go. It's been only 3 kills at 12 minutes. Briz, I'd like to welcome you to the baby LCK of the PCS, where, you know, teams just say, okay, we made one mistake. Okay, we'll go back to farm. Waiting for mistakes pretty much all the time, it seems.
Kind of tragic, because you look at these teams and you think, bam, bloodbath, let's go.
Yeah.
Top lane, skirmish. Instead, you see Cannon Barrage being, like, chucked down bot lane with a cursory glance. You saw a good CS lead emerge for Rest. But actually, Rocky, he's read the map very well. He's not being greedy. He's backing off when he needs to. I do appreciate that, because, you know, when you talk about carry tops that can't play weak side, you think brainless aggression, mindless aggression, always in your face. But this has been very, very cerebral from him to minimalize his losses.
Yeah, because oftentimes when we saw from the hyper-aggressive top laner, especially in spring, like Rocky or Kurd from Liam before he left the region, you know, these hyper-aggressive top laners, they, you know, stick around, they say, oh, I gotta get this wave, I gotta get this, and, you know, not pay attention onto the minimap, or maybe listen to the comms and get caught out, and then that would just snowball out of control, and any chance they had of, you know, trying to go even in a fight would just go out the window.
And the issue is that while the rest of J-Team are bullying Rocky, where's the rest of Nova? You have a Corki that's not really doing anything. You have a Varus that now has some of his lethality core, but isn't really dealing out as much damage as you'd maybe hope. You have a Set jungle who has been the primary casualty of when Nova's plays have exploded in their faces, and you have a Bard who's doing Bard things, collecting his meeps. That's about it so far for Pop.
Hey, infinite scaling on the Bard. He's just trying to, you know, go to toe-to-toe with Lil V. That's the plan there.
Go toe-to-toe with his Moby Boots rush so he can knock gank lanes faster.
Exactly. He can go through the jungle a little faster to collect his meeps. As turret plates come out, we got dabbing penguins, we got scaredy cats, we got a... Yeah, this is the most calm game I think we've seen from Nova in a while.
A little quiet compared to what we'd maybe come to expect from these teams, but still pleasantly surprised that, again, we're seeing another dynamic come through from J-Team. Again, just good team cohesion, good movement around the map. And now you actually do see Rest saying, look, I've taken top tier 1, maybe we can now use some of that pressure to make a convincing case for this mid-tier 1. And once you get the mid-tier 1, you open up creative avenues into the side lanes, you open up nice engage paths for your Nautilus, for your Galio. And yeah, J-Team, listen, look, let's play the neutral objective game and then use our shoving lanes to really set up for these.
Yeah, because at some point here, Nova kind of have to turn back and say, all right, guys, we can't keep giving up our neutral objectives. Rift Herald is now spawned once again. Hana's on top of it. You see that gold graphics just continue to climb in favor of J-Team. And on the same fact, it's going to be 45 seconds on the mountain, which if J-Team secure their one dragon take away, and they'd get a soul at, like, what, 21 minutes the way they're going? As that's going to be double teleport coming down to the bot lane. And Golden Feet, I am sorry, but unfortunately, you have to flash yourself back to safety. Chain of Corruption is going to come out. Ryan with the ultimate, able to get himself back to safety, but Golden Feet will get destroyed. Temper Fate is there. Rocky has rejoined onto the fight. Woody, though, does go golden. And Ryan gets taken down by Nesty. Now Rest still onto the front line, looking to chase down G4. Rocky's been in dominance this entire time, but has not been able to go anywhere in for a fight. And like you mentioned, Hana is just taking mid-tier towers.
Yeah, that was a really, really good aggressive map rotation from the side of J-Team. They saw Lil V getting aggressed on. They said, look, double TP, global ult, get in there. Ryan almost felt doomed for his team by ulting the Galio in with the set. Like, that is really, really, really precarious. But it works out. Galio had no CDs. It almost looks like a good turnaround from Nova here, but they can't make the play happen. They can't find what they need to find, and they just get pincered.
And you saw there, like G4 and Rocky, they did try and respond. They were a little bit low, a little bit late when it came to the teleport, and feels bad too. They can't even take down Woody at the very end. And that is going to be now more kills going in favor of J-Team, as well as opening up 2 towers in the mid lane. That's a big chunk of gold now, as they sit now 5,000 ahead of Nova.
And while we were looking at that replay, we saw the picture in the bottom left, and we saw the fact that they are now 1 Drake away from Dragon's Soul. J-Team, they take firm control of that fight, they take firm control of the map, and Nova, their chances are getting a little bit more precarious, short of 1 Miracle Bard ultimate into a very, very solid flank. That being said, Nova, only about 5 more minutes, and then the Corki will be a champion, and then you can look for things. But if they continue to hemorrhage resources like this, it feels like half of their team didn't even get to play the game before, you know, they actually did seal their own fate.
Like, you know, we're kind of sitting by Nova right now with a second. We're kind of asking, you know, you got to do something soon. Please, you got to do something. Or else J-Team are just going to continue to just walk away with this map so far, as maybe they try and go for a dive here onto Rest, but he's got enough wave clear, don't even matter. Ooh, okay, maybe not.
G4 autoed the barrel there. Nice, nice, nice.
Oh, Ryan.
Ryan looking for a dive.
Looking to do a dive himself. There's also Pop there, just going to commit 3 people. Oh, Rest! Able to at least cleanse away the quick set ulti. Liv, though, is going to come on over. Lil V gets some damage. Unfortunately, can he actually finish off G4? He's going rather aggressive. He's hunting down 3 people, and Pop gets taken down by the auto attack. And meanwhile, bot lane, Nesty and Hana are just like, yeah, you know what? We don't care about kills. We're going for objectives.
Trading 1 for 1 there, pretty ideal for the side of J-Team. They get a lot back on the other side of the map as well. And yeah, Rest played that about as perfectly as he could have, used the fruit to escape the suplex, flashes out, but yeah, really good chain of Bard skills to really, you know, lock down the GP. But unfortunately, you take that long to kill a target, and the Civ is just going to rotate in for a clean pick up.
Like that, too. You did see at least Lil V does answer back, getting the kill on over to Pop, able to sidestep away, and being rather fearless when jumping into 3 people, but you can already see has a little bit of damage underneath his belt. And at least for Nova, they're not going to get perfect gamed. They were able to get a kill, but that's only the start of what needs to start happening here for this squad if they want to try and take home the victory against J-Team.
Yeah, really not huge on the Triforce Muramana on champions not named Ez, just because they take a while to stack it up. And this is going to be still G4 just fishing for whatever he can get for himself in the side lane, trying to, you know, come online. He's got his Triforce Muramana now, as I'm speaking of it, so yeah, it took him 20 minutes, but he's finally a champion. And honestly, I think the Corki's in an alright position, even if the rest of the map is kind of folding around him.
Yeah, my only concern here is now Rocky in a side lane, trying to push up, and whoo, boy, that's a lot of CC, and that's a lot of damage. Oh, he tries to get himself over to safety. Able to dodge away from the collateral damage, but not enough to try and get himself away from Nesty on the Galio. And that will be another pickup kill with just a lack of vision being put down from him to try and keep himself safe in the river. And now it's going to be a minute 15 on this Mountain Drake.
Yeah, however intentional that collateral damage dodge was, it still didn't work out in the end. You have a good collapse coming through from Nesty as a Spellbook Ghost just rotates in. Bam. Easy. Couple of Magi stacks under the belt of this Galio again, by the way. I didn't catch how many he had at the start of that play. I believe it was 8.
Yeah,
10 now. 12?
Yeah, Nesty, you know, he's going for that high damage Galio. No, going for that fully stacked Magi's. Usually not what I get to say when we see a Galio play, but Nesty is fearless, it seems. And that's a 7,000 gold lead now for J-Team. As, what now? 30 minutes? No, not 30 minutes. 30 seconds until Mountain Soul, if they're able to secure it.
I mean, Set does have a suppress, but it relies on him taking himself out of the pit alongside the enemy jungler. So Not entirely sold how that one will work out for Ryan if Nova do try for the Miracle Steal, but at the same time, you may as well go for it even if these team fights are a little precarious. You have the Venn diagram of death coming through from Cannon Barrage plus the Galio ult, and yeah, honestly, J-Team, they have the advantage in the skirmish, they have the advantage in the objective take. Nova need a good pick, and they need it pronto.
We'll see here. Mountain is live. Woody goes for the engage, able to use the depth charge, gets a little bit of damage now, gets himself down to about 300 health. Ryan goes for the suplex, not able to get the mark though, and he'll get taken down, and that is disaster. G4's caught in the middle of the pit as well. He'll get taken out, and J-Team, once again, not losing a single member, pick up 3 of Nova, and that will be the Mountain Soul.
Where is the communication here? Nova opt into this fight with their lethality Varus out of mana. No arrows to be found from Golden Feet, no nothing from one of the primary carries of this composition. And it just feels like Nova are on a completely different page from each other, where J-Team made the proactive rotations with the Sivir ult top to answer Rest being dove earlier, where J-Team made the call to go for that fight just then. Nova, all over the place.
And with that too, it's now going to be J-Team with a Baron buff, a 10,000 gold lead, a 20 stack Mage Eyes on the Galio, and one hell of a lead here, and I don't know whether or not Nova are going to be able to try and recover from this. It feels like they've just shut down.
Yeah, a good pick onto G4, rather attempted pick onto G4 from Woody, and it feels like there was a decent chunk of damage coming out of Golden Feet, but when he ran out of mana after throwing out 2 arrows over the course of that entire fight, suddenly this becomes impossible. Backline gets free access to the Corki. Just really not a good situation for the Nova carries, nor frontline to find themselves in.
On top of that, now you can also look, Lil V has picked up his 3rd cloak. It's now sitting at about 70% crit chance, so that Sivir is going to be outputting a decent amount of damage, even if Rocky's trying to get in the front line and cause havoc. And unfortunately, I don't know if I see a world here where Nova just win off a play that they make. I think it's just going to be up to J-Team to mess up if they want to have an opportunity to even get back in this.
Really does put the onus on J-Team to clinch this one out as cleanly as possible. You've seen them take it convincingly to some of the more upper echelon tier teams, and now you're seeing them just try to cleanly close it out against one of the teams that we maybe expected to be a little bit closer towards the bottom end of the standings.
With that a little bit of clear, Lil V down in the bot lane continuing, as that is going to be the 2nd tier tower in top lane falling, as Rest uncontested, getting some good crits now out of the barrels. Poor Rocky just has to watch as, sure, he only died once in lane, or once overall, and that was in a split push. A little bit later on the map, but we just have not seen him be able to pop off like we expected, and Rest has been able to keep himself calm. That's going to be him flashing away as Pop was looking for a play. Barrel's going to come out, and oh my goodness, that damage into the Galio ultimate comes in ST. Ryan's going to get taunted. They try and jump in onto Rest, but they still cannot kill the Pirate. Finally, Golden Feet, though, finds the snipe with a piercing arrow. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, you have your inhibitor tower falling, and now Rocky has to get himself back to safety. The inhib's taken here by the bot lane of J-Team.
Do have to question as to whether or not that was worth it for the side of Nova. They hard commit for this GP. Yes, they get him eventually, but how much do they lose for it? J-Team should continue this pressure. J-Team should continue to push this one in. And J-Team, despite it being a 4v5 on the map right now, still look to be in firm control of pretty much every part of it.
It just seems a rather easy go here from the side of J-Team. Sure, you're able to kill, Jack Sparrow. Don't matter. The rest of your base is starting to crumble. And now there's a serious fact that you're going to have Elder Dragon spawning in 2 minutes, where you're now down 10,000 gold. You need a miracle steal from Ryan to even hope to try and turn back that fight. And knowing J-Team, again, it's just kind of fall back to this default playstyle of oh, I'm G4. I'm going to go ahead and split push away. But guess what? J-Team, they are not afraid to try and just punish you for this. That's going to be the flash and the rest of the damage. Oh, my lord, coming out. G4 just gets taken down.
What was that stopwatch? Okay.
Stop points.
Hourglass, rather. Yep. I feel it. Wait, did he do it midway through the Justice Punch?
Yes.
Swag. All right.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'll be frank, if you guys have listened to any of the mic check from J-Team, they are a little bit BM. They don't mind having some fun when they're this far ahead. And they do love diving into the action. That's a beautiful double taunt from Nesty. J-Team are just playing with their food at this point. Woody is still alive, and Lil V flashing forward on the Sivir. Not even flashing forward, just walks up and auto attacks. It's 2-13. And my lord, it looks like Nova has just thrown in the towel, lifeless in their match here against J-Team, as they just close things out properly before 30 minutes. Don't even need the Elder. They try and jump in, get the, bonus kill on a Hana. G4 maybe makes it a miracle play. It's cool you got yourself a kill. But unfortunately, J-Team still hunted for the base, still added to the KDAs. And there you go, a godlike Nesty, and maybe a dive even onto the fountain as they just do not care. 3-16, Nova Fall J-Team go undefeated after the first day of week 2.
And another stellar performance in the mid lane from J-Team. Really, really, really cool to see them just handily dispatch some of our bottom of the table teams. But hey, if you're going to challenge the top, you have to convincingly beat the bottom, and that is what they've done all split long so far.
Yeah. I don't know, that was like, and honestly, that was the most straightforward game I think we've had today, where it was just like, yep, J-Team, they're going to go ahead and do this, and Nova's just not going to really react, and boom. I don't know what else there is really to say, because you're pretty much hoping you can go to late game with a lethality virus against the Sivir. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, not really the ideal scenario there. Renekton as well versus GP later on. Not a good matchup for 5v5s. Really, really good explosive gameplay from J-Team to win the stages of the game that they maybe shouldn't have, and just cleanly close that out.
Yeah, and I'm not sold on the set jungle pick from Ryan. Apologies, I'm just not. Unfortunately, that, or I don't know if it's just the champion as well as how this team likes to play, because it just felt like that we never really saw anything come out of this squad. This composition, like they almost literally did nothing. That was the thing that is making me angry here, is it just kind of felt like we watched them farm for 20 minutes and J-Team's like, all right, Tower, Dragon, Rift Herald, Baron, your Nexus.
Yeah, pretty much. Thing about them, though, is that we didn't see a lot of proactivity, bar this play, around any kind of engages that weren't at neutral objectives. I think they could have punished a little bit harder, but they were very, very, very proactive in their rotations, and they were very intelligent about how they played these fights out. You saw a good collapse here from the solo laners TPing in. You saw the pincer maneuver from everyone else, and while all of this was happening, this 4v5 was going by way of J-Team. Hana just splitting mid. You have Herald in pocket. You have Graves just free casting on towers. That really cemented that Nova were going to be massively on the back foot. Woody getting MVP is a bit of a surprise, but hey,
yeah,
why not?
Woody going to be the MVP over there for J-Team, so congratulations over to him, as well as the rest of the squad. I don't know, I almost felt like Nesty actually should have got MVP there. I felt like he was actually doing pretty well with his teleport, taunts coming in on the Galio. Nonetheless, the whole team, to me, was MVPs, because I felt like they actually came to play today, and Nova, unfortunately, just looked like they just weren't on the same page.
And of course, with that victory, J-Team will move up to first place, uncontested, 4-0.
Yeah.
And it's not like they've had strength of schedule in their favor either. Yes, it's been a bit of a mix between bottom and top tier teams, but it's still one that they can look back and say, look, I'm very, very, very proud with how things have gone so far. And I guess the trial by fire will be if they can actually make a convincing case for themselves against Talon, whenever that may be.
Yeah, so we'll still see whether or not they're able to do just that, as, of course, was our final match of the night. Nova going to be just taken down there by J-Team. And like we mentioned, J-Team now at the top of the standings have been able to actually open up a nice gap. For now, though, we are going to go ahead and send it to an interview with Nesty as well as Patty.
恭喜 J-Team 在
So
今
take
天
it
拿
away.
下2场的胜利。那在今天拿到4-0的一个战绩，占据 PCS 的第1名。那你原本有想到开季 J-Team 会过得如此的顺利吗？
So congratulations on winning the two games today, and you guys have so far 4 wins in this season. And did you expect yourself to be on top in the rankings, or was it unexpected?
没有想到吧，就是如果照团练的发挥的话，其实我觉得打其他队伍也没有到特别的难这样。
So we didn't expect it, but looking at our practices, I thought that other teams weren't that hard to beat.
好，那第二题想问一下雀巢，就是你在这一场是算是出了跌输嘛？那有没有机会可以看到你在之后可以选出更多 carry 型的英雄？
So in this game, we saw that you picked up the item Magi's. Is it possible that we'll be seeing more carry mid lane champions from you?
就是团练还是准备了蛮多的吧，但时机还没到，所以就还没拿出来这样。
So we prepared a lot of carry champions in mid lane, but it's not time for me to show them yet. So I haven't picked them up, but just wait and see.
好，那第三题是上季其实 J-Team 让粉丝算是郁闷了蛮久嘛。那目前来说达到一个4-0的战绩，那目前你有没有就是想要对粉丝说的话？
So last season, J-Team's performance got a lot of fans a little bit depressed. So do you have anything you want to say to your fans?
就下季赛还是请继续为台北之战队加油，然后我也会以团练或是更强的实力，然后来赢下接下来的比赛。
So in the season, please continue to support us, and I will show better performances this season for you guys.
我想再额外加码一题，就是我看雀巢现在其实你脸上的笑意其实藏不太住，就我想问你，因为其实你在上一季算是最被大家去做检讨的一个选手，那目前来说，你有没有有任何的话想对可能这些质疑你的人说，然后希望去证明自己的实力？
So last season, a lot of people are really critical for your performances. Do you have anything to say to those critics?
就是我会用接下来的比赛证明我的实力。
I'll show you guys my strength from the games I'm going to play in the rest of the season.
没错，那也非常恭喜的是雀巢，你可以带领自己的队伍赢下刚刚的比赛。那也希望你们在之后的比赛可以再继续加油。那我们感谢。
Well, there you go. I don't know. It felt like, they felt pretty confident. Even here, a little almost BM coming out there. He's like, yeah, this was rather easy games, easy life, free league. I just seemed like how he was feeling right there.
I mean, Nesty, of course, had a lot to prove coming into this. They added a substitute specifically to step in for him, and he's put up so far, and he says to his haters, look, I'll put up or shut up. And so far, he's been putting it up. Just look at him go. Really, really, really good play coming through from a mid laner that we maybe had pegged as towards the lower end of middle of the pack heading into summer.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and review the happenings of today. Of course, we started things off with HKA taking on Resurgence, Hong Kong Attitude, able to win both their matches. The first one, maybe not a surprise, but the second one, an absolutely massive upset over PSG, our current spring champions, and now actually above them when we come into placement. And then, of course, J-Team, 2 victories under their belt, allows them to claim sole first place possession with 4 wins and 0 losses.
Yeah, and besides the 2 HKA and J-Team victories, you do also have victories in the camps of our 3rd and 4th place teams from last split. Berjaya Dragons and AHQ making a case for themselves, not necessarily for the really, really top of the table, but still looking fairly formidable and saying, look, you may have counted us out after week 1, but we are still here to play.
Again, a quick review of the standings. Now, currently in last, it is Liab in 10th. Unfortunately, have yet to be able to secure a victory. If they did fall to Berjaya, which found their very first victory themselves, who are now tied with Resurgence. Then Alpha and Nova, they like to share pretty similar records, even if we look back towards spring. And then top of the half, this is the complete turnaround coming out from J-Team as well as Hong Kong Attitude, our 8th and 7th place teams back in spring, now at the top of the table.
Yeah, really pleasantly surprised with how J-Team have been playing as well as HKA. Even coming into today, our expectations for HKA were at an all-time low because they looked so lost against Alpha. Now you have to look at that Alpha game and think, okay, maybe that was just a blip. That was the outlier. That was the one trash game that they needed to really pick things up and know that they had to get it together for this day, and they did.
And then starting tomorrow, of course, we have day 2 of week 2 with Prajaya taking on Hong Kong Attitude. Liab go up against now toward the top of the table with a match against Machi. Resurgence, we'll see whether or not they can stop the red hot fire that is Taipei J-Team. Then HQ will actually get their opportunity to play 2 games themselves, and we'll see whether or not PSG can bounce back after the surprise upset over HKA.
I had Alpha pegged as maybe surprisingly upsetting PSG, but after their performance today against HQ, a little bit less sold. I think their dominant victory over HKA really made me believe that Alpha found that winning formula, or maybe we will see them win tomorrow, and they'll just be, you know, a team that wins on even-numbered days, but not odd-numbered days.
That's
Could
the
also be
secret.
the case.
That's the secret. They're able to win on the odd, on even number days. Well, we'll have to see. From myself, though, and the rest of the crew here, thank you guys for tuning on into the broadcast of the PCS. Of course, more action tomorrow, same place, same time. So thanks for tuning on in, and we'll see you then.